The full title of this video is actually Stop Watching My Videos If You Want to Succeed and Go Make Your Own. I have been making YouTube videos for about 2.5 years now, and throughout this process, throughout this journey, as whatever you want to call it, I've realized that this world is going to be rapidly and already is split between content creators and content consumers, of which I am both. And having been on both ends, I am recognizing that if you don't go towards the content creator side and you are actively in the content consumer side, you are somewhat bound to fail. When's the last time you went out into the subway or walked in the streets and saw most of the people not on their phones, making eye contact, walking straight, and smiling at you? I don't remember the last time. I actually don't recall the last time I have ran into someone in public who wasn't on their phone. And perhaps it's because of the New York City lifestyle or the various places I've lived filled with urban metropolitan people who are always busy looking at their phones, and perhaps they're not content consuming. But I can speak for myself that I have always been content consuming, and there's so much content to be consumed. One of which is clearly this video that you're watching right now. I firmly believe that as content creation becomes more and more and more mainstream and everyone and their mom wants to be famous and thinks that they have an opinion that matters, they're going to be either a creator or a consumer. And right now you're consuming a somewhat pointless video of a person who is probably not that qualified to tell you these things, that thinks that they have an opinion that matters and is valuable, even though it might not. I want to get the disclaimer out of the way and say that there is useful content that you should consume. If you're studying or if you are interview prepping, there might be resources online that you might not be able to find elsewhere. There's plenty of YouTubers or TikTokers or whatever you want to call it that create pretty good content that is available for free that you wouldn't be able to get anywhere else unless you're taking a course or talking to someone that is useful or smart or expertise in that field that you wouldn't be able to connect with unless you found them online. I would argue that is less than 5% of the content out there, and more than 95% are out there to grab your views, waste your time, and suck your life away. I'm just going to continue to punchline and say that if you are not on that creating side and you're constantly on the consuming side, you will probably fail and your brain will turn to mush. I think the biggest component of this is wasted time. I have been actively seeing my screen time recently, and it has somewhat gone down because I have been working, and I'm sure that has been offset by the amount of screen time that I use on my computer. But most of my screen time is used on YouTube or Netflix or Instagram, consuming pointless content, endless scrolling, and feeding myself of videos and pictures and memes that I probably could care less about in the grand scheme of things, but I'm so used to filling my time and feeding myself this content for absolutely no reason. There is zero gain by doing this. Sure, I might be on top of the latest trends and know what the Riz is or the ick is and try to stay young, but at the end of the day, beyond a couple conversations with others who are also consuming that content, it really doesn't make sense. A bigger danger of this content consumption is that these algorithms now know us so well that they niche us into various forms of content that allow us only to have a certain type of view. And I'm not going to get political in this conversation, but just because you consume this type of content doesn't mean it'll get you to be social with other people who are with this type of content. I think a big part of why we stay up to date with culture and the form of content is to be a part of these conversations. But realistically, you watching XYZ videos and your friend watching ABC videos, there's not much overlap there as your algorithm continues to pull you away from each other towards more niche stuff. Content doesn't always come in the form of videos. It also could be just personal content that you follow on people's Instagram and Facebook and whatnot. And much of this is driven by FOMO and jealousy, and you just feel bad. I don't remember the last time I went on Instagram and then felt great afterwards, seeing how great people are doing, the cool places they've been, the things that they're eating, the people that they're hanging out with without me. This is not even a point of active comparison. Those that don't compare actively, there's no way that this doesn't hit you hard in knowing that you are sitting at home scrolling through a phone or on a bus scrolling through your phone while others are enjoying this. And I don't have to beat this nail 1,000 times, but everyone's lives are not perfect. Of course, they're only displaying the best parts, and having that replay in your head over and over again is bound to make you feel bad. This goes into this general idea of false perceptions and you thinking that I somewhat have my life put together, or my career journey is awesome, or I'm always a positive person, or I'm overly smart. Whatever you might think based on these videos, probably false. I definitely don't have my life put together. I'm probably not that smart. my views and opinions only sound legit because you're seeing on this platform with me as 20,000 subscribers and me as a content creator versus you as a consumer. These places make people look better than they actually are, even though at the end of the day, they're just human beings that happen to get lucky. The biggest thing for me is feeling overwhelmed, especially as a consumer. You feel like you should be creating something constantly. Why am I not creating it? But then you don't actually execute. The way to resolve that is, as I've expressed in the beginning of the video, if you truly feel that and you find yourself spending time consuming for hours on end, use that time to create, and then slowly but surely fall away from consuming and go towards creating. This is all driven by the fact that everyone seems to have an opinion. Everyone's opinion is valued, even though your opinion is probably not that great and it's probably worthless, the same as with my opinions. And most people's opinions are actually not very educated, not very worthy, but because there is a channel to express them, everyone seems to be a creator and everyone seems to need validation on their opinion. And it's become this toxic environment where there's an overflow of information, most of it being misinformation, and everyone consuming it left and right with no filter. But then again, as with the thesis of this video, since everyone's doing it, you might as well do it, and you might as well stop wasting your time consuming misinformation, and you might as well just spread misinformation. Just kidding. But if you have an opinion about something, if you have an experience that you feel like only you may have, which it's probably not true, but if you're going to spend that time watching videos, scrolling through TikToks, and going through your Instagram feed, you might as well spend it doing something like this and just speaking in front of a camera. You have probably consumed more content on average than anyone else that was born before your generation, which means you have experience with content. You know what hits, you know the gist, you know the way that people talk, you know what makes good content, what's not good content. Imagine how many hours a day you are viewing content, and think about if you replace that with any other skill, how good you'd be at it. Of course, just because you watch soccer doesn't mean you get good at soccer, but content's different. I think content in the form of media, in the form of social media, it's something that you can consume and get an understanding of what works and what doesn't. So once again, I am encouraging everyone to make videos instead of watching videos, make memes instead of watching memes. Of course, one is much easier than the other, but I think it's important to be productive and not fall into this dilemma in this lower category as consumers versus creators. For practical reasons, I think it looks good on your resume and the low chance that it hits and you get somewhat big. We're going to continuously go towards a creator's economy, whether you like it or not. And companies aren't going to be able to ignore the fact that you have something like that on your resume versus you saying that I watched 20 hours of YouTube a day. You could say that you've created 20 hours of YouTube a day and attracted hundreds of views. That's more than nothing. I also think that as you continue to reflect on yourself and talk about what you enjoy and cater to an audience, it gets you to think about what you actually want to do. Something that I've also been struggling with / thinking about in the past 2.5 years by doing this kind of thing. Every week I am forced to think about what I want to make for the next week, what I want to curate for the video. And in doing so, I get to think about what I'm good at, what I'm bad at, and turn that somewhat into a career. The big negative of this is that you have to contentize everything, every conversation that I'm in. Every week, I have this somewhat anxiety of thinking about what am I going to make next week, which is why I've slowly turned this into just me talking about whatever I want to and really just ignoring the views, which probably will lead to the downfall of this channel. But regardless, I think the toxic nature comes from requiring everything and anything to be entertaining and thinking actively about, is this going to be fun content? Should I turn this into a conversation? That's kind of the bad nature of today's society, but if a system exists, you got to take advantage of it. Long story short, clout is sick. There's a thrill to getting noticed on the streets. It's cool to say you're a content creator. It's no longer a cringe thing to be, in my opinion. And for those that think it's cringe but are still consuming it, I think that's probably the worst category of people. The best thing ever is to neither create nor consume, in my opinion, and be safe and away and above all this and, enjoy fresh air. But that's not probable for much of our generation. So in conclusion, I really do advise people to stop consuming and create. I truly believe that the amount of hours that you spend on your phone will be insanely negatively correlated with your success / your future / your financial worth. I would assume that people that spend more time in the metaverse will be those that are unfortunately in lower income brackets, and for those that are spending real world time are the ones that can afford to have cool real world time. And perhaps you could do that by spending your 20s content creating instead of content consuming in your free time and replacing those by and all. These are just my simple opinions as a not really content creator, but someone who has fun creating content. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and continue to watch my content at least, but still create your own. As always, I thank you guys for watching. Maybe I won't see you next time since you're not watching this video anymore and try to be successful. And I will see you guys next time. Let's go.